like the taste of pineapple? Are you California dreaming? This episode's for you. We're continuing our foreign film series with my pick, Wong Kar-wai's Chungking Express. This is, it's a romantic comedy crime thingamajig about chance meetings, kind of focused around two police officers. I guess that's the thing really linking them, but it's all about chance meetings and love, loss, that kind of thing. Beautiful film.
And
one of
Hound?
my favorites.
Truly, like, the best movie when it comes to coping with a breakup, and the best romantic stalking. 100%.
Oh my God.
I had an issue for a little bit. I was like sitting there and like she just breaks into his house and I'm like,
She had the
And
key.
it's-
She
I'm
didn't
just
break
like,
in.
hey,
I was like, it's a one time.
it's
I'm like,
Faye
okay, it's one
Wong.
time. And
She
then
gets
she
away
starts
with
doing
it. It's okay.
She had the. She technically had the keys.
That's true.
You didn't give her the
But,
key.
like-
She technically has the keys.
First off, the shop
There's
owner
a
was
technicality
really
with that.
sneaky. He was like, I'm gonna like make sure
I
nobody
love,
knows that I
I
ripped
love
it
that he's
open.
such a gossip. Like,
Oh,
I know, everyone in the kitchen's
That's like, I think, one of my favorite parts when the boss of the kitchen is like yelling at the guy for singing with the giant carrot,
Oh, yeah.
and then
What are you
for her
doing?
for daydreaming, and then once he leaves, she's like daydreaming while he's pretending to sing.
Yeah.
This movie is so full of like those perfect tiny moments that I feel like they can't possibly be scripted. Like, they just happen spontaneously.
so the production of this movie kind of supports that. Wong Kar-wai was working on Ashes of Time during this, which is a giant, big wuxia movie. Very expensive, and it was hell to work on. It took forever to make, and him and his cinematographer, Christopher Doyle, they were just like, all right, we need to just get back in our element. We need to just do something quick and cheap and just on the streets, and this is what that grew out of.
That's unbelievable. It's like how gorgeous it is.
It's
Yeah.
stunning, though. Like, the use of color,
Yeah.
the shots.
Doyle
just-
is one of just like the best cinematographers imaginable.
There's a scene where he's just like he's combing a giant stuffed animal,
Oh, my God.
Yeah, well,
and like
I
this
was
like
sympathetic.
pink haze light is behind him. It's like
Yeah, when he's talking to Garfield.
Is Garfield
Yes.
the giant white
Yeah.
tunnel?
Yeah.
Oh, not the
Well,
giant
he
white
got
one,
voice
but
Polar
he's,
bear.
too. He did a voice for it too when he was
Yeah.
doing Garfield. I was like,
Because at the end he has this, because that's like a huge theme throughout it, is giving a life to inanimate objects and having conversations with them. So like talking to the soap and Garfield and the polar bear, and I loved it because that's when you go through a major breakup. It's that intense. Like you're sitting there talking to like a smoothie on your kitchen floor, and you're like, it's gonna be okay.
Are you speaking from experience?
Maybe.
We all
I
are.
talk to my smoothies. I have a lot of like figures in my house though, where I'm like, that's okay.
I'm gonna be honest. I'll own up to it. On the first story, I just wrote down at one point, he's so me. I was just like, damn, this is how I'm acting post breakup. This is sad.
I still talk to the parents.
Yeah,
been
that's so pathetic. God, he's just like, oh, can you put your husband on? I want to talk to him.
That's his
Are you happy?
password. His password for his voicemail is undying love. And I'm like, oh, bud.
It's fine. Like, I'm glad we're giving that first segment some love because I feel like it kind of gets forgotten. Like, it's such an intense, cool, passionate, like, short film.
It's like a fever
But
dream.
it's
Yes.
Is what it feels like. It's like the way that the camera is shot is like the entire time. At first, I was like, "This is very off-putting," and the running sequences. There's so many running sequences where they're like, "Oh no, let's slow mo,"
Yeah.
but still like shake the camera.
That's
and
a
it felt like a dream sequence almost.
that's a technique called step printing. So it's not actual slow mo. They just take the frames and print it on the on the
Oh, it's
film
like shot by
several
shot.
times, shot by shot,
Mhm.
and it just I love it, especially when he does it when like somebody's relatively still and things are moving around them.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's cool.
Really cool.
It's like a Wong Kar-wai signature.
Yes.
Yeah.
I also like how claustrophobic the movie feels. There's so many uses of like small spaces, and I know that usually when you see like countries like this, a lot of them have like try to like there's like maximalism
Yeah.
in every scene. So it's like you have like tiny little storefronts that are like really tiny and like really
Yeah.
narrow, and even like the side streets were like super narrow. They had a good use of very tight spaces.
This
That's
is
very much another Wong Kar-wai-ism, because in The Mood for Love, it's all about the claustrophobia of that.
We're watching that.
Yeah, like even
Yeah.
watching him try to clean his apartment of all her stuff, I'm just like, he's just putting the boxes on top. I'm like, yo, guys, stop.
so.
Just throw it away.
That was actually the cinematographer's apartment.
Really?
He wasn't living well, I guess.
That's
Oh,
interesting.
Just at the beginning of his.
This is true.
illustrious-
Yeah. No, he was a broke kid at that point. So yeah.
Wow.
My God, what an eye for photography, though. I feel like him and Slavomir Žižek, must have lived together, because the film style is incredibly similar, very interpersonal, very in the quiet moments. I watched this movie 10 times probably, and every time I'm like, how did they pull this off?
Yeah.
And they made it how do you make something so unbelievably sexy too, and zero nudity in this movie?
The people in this movie, all four of the leads are just unbelievably gorgeous. I can't even comprehend.
Yeah. Tony Leung is just
Damn.
very special.
That's,
Yeah.
At the end, when he has the cigarette behind his ear in the flannel, oof, insane.
Steamy.
He's just, a beautiful man. We'll see more of him in my pick.
Very nice.
Which is also by Wong Kar-wai.
Yes, it is.
We should champion this filmmaker. We should have just done a Wong Kar-wai section. Each of us picked a movie. I'd have picked my Blueberry Nights. I'd have taken the hit for you guys. So you can pick
That would
more.
have been awesome.
Yeah. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
It's good.
Then you should put it
I'm
on the dock.
intrigued.
What doesn't work about it is it's totally that Wong Kar-wai I don't know. I want to call it Hong Kong cinema thing, where it's everyone leaves their keys in this bucket on the table, and maybe they'll come back, maybe they won't. But the point is, their story is here for them when they return to it. Kind of monologuing that kind of doesn't work if you're in Jude Law in New York City, being a diner owner. But it still worked for me because I saw what they were trying to do. Digression. Sorry. Back to Chungking Express. Amanda,
Yes.
what are your thoughts?
So initial thoughts when I had to really think about it afterwards, because there was a lot. So a lot of the dialogue was very interesting because it wasn't really telling you too much of the story. It was more visual than
Yes.
anything. Because a lot of time I thought the first cop was just really whiny. He was like, "Oh, this is what love is." It felt like when watching a melodramatic French movie, stereotypical French
But
movie,
I-
and him sitting there going, "Oh, love."
Turning it on its
It is
ear.
a-
Yeah, I find him so funny though.
But he
his
was really funny.
his bizarro I jog so that way I lose
don't
all my
cry. He's
water
so
I don't
edgy.
cry.
That was the edgiest thing I think I've ever heard anybody say. I run to sweat so that I don't have a chance to cry. And then when he sees the rain, he's and he sees the towel drying, he's like, "Oh yes, I see it crying. Oh, it's so I'm like, shut up." I'm like, oh my god. He would have fit in today. He would have fit in my high school with all the emo kids. It's yes, poetry.
That's
But I
Takeshi.
loved him for it. I love that he went after canned pineapples that had a specific date.
May 1st.
1994. And I'm just I'm with the shopkeeper at that point where it's dude, those are expired.
I
Why?
love that argument, and the shopkeeper's like, "Why do you care how the pineapple feels? Who cares about how I feel?"
And then he went home and ate 30 cans. I was like, my guy.
Then
I
got
was
Goes
like,
out
get some
drinking.
ham or something. Put some protein.
God.
That was
I was like, he's just sitting there eating canned. And also the pickiest homeless guy I've ever seen.
Oh, I
You
know.
want some of it? He's like, no, it's expired. I liked that. So I do enjoy stories. It kind of feels like Guy Ritchie in a sense, those movies to kind of compare it to, and how interconnecting stories.
Yeah.
It's fun to see little details. The thing he gives the homeless guy is the sardines,
Yeah.
and then later on, the second cop is seen eating canned sardines.
There's one part in the first section when you just see Fei Wong walking by with the big Garfield. And it's
I
just like, oh.
recognized it because as soon as he pulled up the Garfield, I went, oh! And then you see her doing it again, and I was like, oh, I love how, you really had to pay attention to this first story to catch all the little teeny tiny moments. I love movies that put that in there because it really, makes you feel oh, I really paid attention in the first time. Makes you kind of feel good later on.
even the revenge murder made me feel good.
Oh, I love her so much. She was
Yeah.
I love her.
Bridget Lynn. Oh Oh
It was
my
very
God.
weird at first because
She's a
like
girl.
she's dancing in front of like the jukebox. I'm like, she's got the blonde hair, so I was like, oh, maybe that's her. And they're like, no, that's not her. And then she's just wearing another wig, and I'm like, she's just dancing still, and he's dead. And I'm like, oh. I was like, oh, I had to turn back.
Wait a second.
That scene.
That's her? That's not her.
No, that's
different woman.
yeah. He dresses up another woman like her.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say,
he
okay.
has a woman at the bar, and the
Yeah,
woman's
I remember.
making
I was
out
gonna-
with, like,
I just
he
never
puts
thought-
the wig on her. So at the scene where she's like dancing in front of the jukebox after their little session, there's spicy he's like going alone into like wherever he's going, and she like comes and like shoots him, but it's the same wig.
And the kittens
So
are there. The
part of me
kittens
was-
are there.
Poor kittens, first off.
Who are all definitely dead by today. Sorry.
Can't get happier.
Wow.
They'll live on in our memories.
Way to
Like,
be
why
a
would you kill
downer.
him in front of the children?
That's what I kind of thought too, and then I thought the kittens are never gonna get that food that he was about to open, which I know is not the point of the
The
scene.
can's open when the camera
Oh,
pans
so the
down.
kittens are fine.
Yeah.
The can's
No,
open.
I
For
thought
that
the
day.
can was unopened.
It was just
No.
30 years ago, so they're definitely gone. I don't care if they had the best life ever. They're gone.
You know, the
So
can is
I-
like tipped open because the expiration
What a
date is
downer.
May 1st, I think, on the
It always
can.
comes back to May
Oh.
1st, and that's his birthday too. That was the
Yeah.
pop's birthday. So I was like, good kudos to you for making the effort to actually go and find cans with.
Takeshi Kaneshiro.
Amazing.
Yeah. I think of my first experience with him was actually House of Flying Daggers.
Mine too. Yeah, that's what
I
I
love
saw.
that movie.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Have,
that was a good one.
Have you ever seen Fallen Angels?
I was just looking that up.
Yeah,
Is that a
but-
sequel?
It works kind of like a flip side to this. It's so originally this movie was gonna have a third story centered on a hitman, and eventually it just grew. And Wong Kar-wai was like, I don't know if this fits too well. So Fallen Angels is similar to this, where it's like several stories, like missed connections, people in love, that kind of thing. But like, it's set like way more criminal underworld, way darker, and it might be his best movie. I don't know, but yeah, Takeshi Kaneshiro plays a mute man in it, and he's amazing.
Katie, what are your thoughts?
Oh, well, I really enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed the cinematography, I enjoyed the actors, I enjoyed the story, but I probably am going to have to watch it again because there are, like, what everyone's been talking about, like, the objects coming back into scenes within the story. I didn't catch them all, so I'm definitely going to watch this again just for that because I think it deserves a
Just
second run through.
To make
anyway.
you feel better, though, like, I've seen this movie 10 times over the last 13 years, and I still haven't caught any of them. It
Oh.
doesn't hurt the
Yeah,
movie
this
for
is
me.
probably like
Yeah.
my fourth time watching it. Like,
Yeah.
It's just
I get caught up in the same thing, like just the cranberries.
Oh, I love it so much. The music in this is just chef's kiss for me.
I
love it.
hope you guys like California Dreaming.
It's stuck in my head for the rest of my life now, but
Oh,
I
I've-
like the Chinese version
of the cranberries.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I know this song. So I started jamming. I was like, hold up.
My
Pause.
first experience with that song in film was Alexandra Aja's remake of The Hills Have Eyes,
Yes.
and so this cleaned that up for me in a big
I'm
way.
so glad I haven't seen that. It's my favorite cranberry song.
Oh no, now I'm talking about California Dreaming.
Okay.
The cranberry song, that'd been an odd pick for that movie. But
That's why I was like, okay.
what was the reggae song?
I don't know.
Could look it up.
What was the reggae song playing?
That's
In Chungking Express.
Yeah, when right before the romantic murder.
I mean, I've heard the other song by the Mamas and the Papas, California Dream, already, so I knew the song.
Is it Things in Life by Dennis Brown? Is that it? Because there are 4 songs that are
That's reggae. That's reggae. So yeah.
repeatedly
Yeah,
playing.
there you go.
Yeah.
So it's
Cool.
Things in Life by Dennis Brown, and then California Dreams by the Cranberries, and then What a Difference a Day.
I feel like California Dreamin' is the one that like overtakes this movie, but the cranberry song section stands out the most for me. And just the sequence of events that's happening.
She's
during
drugging
that.
him. and
Yeah.
It's,
I know.
That's the way to stalk.
I like the magnifying glass on the bed.
oh, she finds the hair,
Yeah.
and then she's so mad at that other lady who he doesn't even know.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Just really cool shots too, like when she like yells hello from his own apartment.
Oh yeah.
And in the little pocket of the window he's going up the escalator, and it's all caught in frame. It's just really good.
What did you think, Simona?
So, I liked two things that were mentioned earlier. The way the acting seemed so natural, the way things are said, the way things are done. Part of me always wonders, like, how much is scripted, how much is unscripted. The claustrophobia definitely got to me at a certain point, like, especially the scene when, in the very first one, when it's like a bedroom scene, so there's a woman with a young girl. This is when they're all like dressing up to, like, they're stuffing the drugs and
into the
things.
clothes.
Yeah, it's crazy. You kind of forget there's like a drug smuggling and murder plot.
I was
Yeah.
more concerned about that one, to be honest. They kind of just cut me off on that one, and I was like, I wanted to see more. At first, I was like, okay, she's hiring these guys. What's going on? And then I saw them cutting up clothes, and I went, oh, I know what's going on. To which they completely stole all the drugs, and then she's trying to find them, and I'm like, I want to know the plot of this one. I want to find them. And then she kidnaps a kid.
Oh,
And
I love
she's
that
like,
so
I'm
much.
gonna
She took
just leave
the
her
kid
with
and
my
left.
kid. And she's like, whoop.
You'll never see your
That
daughter
kid was
again.
smiling,
Meanwhile,
though. She
she's
was
just
like,
feeding her ice cream.
Yo, that kid had a good day. She was eating ice cream, having a good day.
She met
and
a cool
then-
lady who gave her lots of ice
So
cream.
my question is, when she's handed the can at the bar to tell her how much time is left, is it the guy that she murders that's controlling everything that she was worried about? Is it him? Because it does just drop off that storyline.
I feel like Wong Kar Wai's like, don't worry about it.
I know.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
What murder? He was the best guy around.
As you were saying, Simona, I'm sorry.
No, so it was just that one of those scenes where, like, they're all in the bedroom and there's a guy that climbs over the other side, and like a lot of shots where like people are squeezing in between other people, and
Yes.
just like the feeling like, oh my god, and also the fact that everyone is sweating. Like, I can't imagine what the temperature was like during filming, but I was like, oh my god, they must be very uncomfortable. Like, that's what was like running through my mind. And then I appreciated in the second storyline when the young woman starts like cleaning up his apartment. So I was like, hey, that's great. So you're breaking in, but at least you're doing him a service. So that kind of makes everything better. But also, like, and I know this is maybe a fantasy element of the story, but you know, like when he thinks she's in the closet, but and then the girl
Thinks his ex could
Yeah.
possibly be in the closet.
yeah, and then she's leaning against the wall, and I legitimately thought he caught her. And then I realized, wait a minute. She's crouched on the ground under a blanket. You didn't notice
That
anyone?
was so silly.
No, he's the
I loved it.
stupidest man alive.
But it's
Yeah.
because, like, a part of me was like, oh my god, he caught her. I was like, okay, where did she go? Oh, is she in, like, the bathroom? And I was like, oh no, she's just crouched on the ground with the blanket over her. So I was like, okay. You know? But I like how little by little he starts to notice the, like when he says, like, these sardines taste different. They taste better. I'm like, yes. And I thought he was going to talk about, like, the ramen that he was eating, but, like, how little by little he notices these little things or whatever. But, yeah, so it's, like, moments like that, I think, where it's unintentionally comical. Or, like, when she shows up with, like she's just adding fish after fish in his tank. She just shows up and goes, oh, no, I went to purchase, no
Girl,
sell.
You put so many fish in there, they're gonna eat each other.
I know, but I like how she says, like, oh, you're scaring me, so I'm confusing my words. I meant that I bought it. And she just, like, chucks the bag at him, and
She's the world's worst liar. She's
Yeah.
problematic.
but it's realistic.
Toxic.
Because it's realistic, though, because God knows if I were to, and I'm about to like, enter a guy's apartment, and like, what, and so I would be stumbling over my words, too. I like that bit of
Yeah,
realism.
I love when she's just like, my legs don't work.
What are you doing here? It's my house. Shuts the door and locks
And I
it,
think
like,
the film,
whoa.
and Ben mentioned this too, like, it captures intimate moments without seeming like it's exploiting those moments. Like, when he's giving her the leg massage, which I know is not the point of the scene, but I was like, that is, like, really sexy without
Oh,
me
that
being-
is the point of the scene. He
Okay,
even
great.
says
That,
it.
okay,
yeah.
great. That I didn't read into that too much, but I was like, that is just very sexy. First of all, when his character is introduced, I was like, this man. At first, I didn't recognize him, and I know we mentioned he would be in the film, but like, I was like, oh. So like, I was like, oh, he's so handsome in his cop uniform.
Stunning.
I
Yeah.
think it was with his ex, who's the flight attendant. At some point, they're like just like kind of wrestling in the kitchen, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Oh yeah.
this is great.
Yeah.
when he's playing with the toy planes
On her back?
Yeah.
I
There's just a
feel
twin.
like same.
Mhm.
I will do that. I will just. Find
All of us
something.
were like,
Yeah.
I think, as far as like the claustrophobic cinematography, I thought it all felt really cozy and very safe.
It's
Like-
so claustrophobic, but also I want to move to 90s Hong Kong, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Like her in her little corner at the fry joint that she works at.
Yeah.
And just like, daydreaming all day, looking out the window. It feels like these little pockets of safety and comfort. At his apartment when he's with all the stuffed animals just sitting on the floor. Like everything felt like, he's a little heart aching right now, but everything's okay.
I think it also captures how life has its like magical moments, but it also has a lot of its mundane moments, and I think that's what the film captures. Because like unless you're like a spy or you're engaged in espionage, like most people's lives are very like blah, you know, like you're just going about what you're doing. And I could definitely see if I'm working behind a stall, like I'm gonna be daydreaming, I'm listening to music. It seemed very real, like.
but and even the mundane stuff,
Yeah.
like the CDs spinning in the jukebox,
I
like
know,
just how
yeah.
beautiful it all becomes.
Yeah. A part of me didn't realize that there were CDs in the early 90s. Like, I was very young. I was like, there were
I think
CDs.
89 is when they
It was
showed up.
the end
That's
of
when
the
the-
cassette.
that's when they-
It was like the
Yeah.
end of the
Okay.
cassette, and then we had CDs.
That was new tech back then.
Oh, okay, because like I was very young, so like for me, like I remember cassette tapes still, but for me, like in my mind, I had CDs didn't come out until the late 90s. So when I saw the CDs, I was like, okay, fine. A part of my brain is saying this doesn't make any sense, but I was like, okay, fine. Like I don't know why that just struck me as odd. I was like, they were out in the early 90s. Like I thought that was like kind of bizarre.
I'm
but-
pretty sure this movie too, like, I don't think this has anything to do with CDs, but CDs, spinning, rolling. I'm pretty sure this was part of Quentin Tarantino's Rolling Thunder pictures
Yes.
when he blew up on the scene in the 90s. And I can't remember the other films that were included in that. But
There
I
were
remember
like 3.
this is the movie that basically everyone was renting out at my local video store. They had 3 copies of Quentin Tarantino's Rolling Thunder, the Chungking Express.
And it had a terrible intro where he was like in a backwards hat, and he was like, "I see you film fans out there."
God, I feel like I wouldn't. He's like one of the heroes I'd never want to meet because I feel like he'd just be really mean.
Yeah.
Now he seems like he's chilled out. 90s Tarantino seems like I would want to bash my head against the wall, but
Wow.
Yep. I don't know. I mean, I see some interviews with him nowadays, and I'm like, God, he just seems so abrasive all the time, and that he's got the confidence of success behind him too, that he would just brutalize you.
his podcast is insane.
Yeah.
He's done like interviews with Rick Dalton, and it's just him doing a voice, and it's just like, buddy, you're losing your mind.
What were the other Rolling Thunder pictures, though?
The Beyond, the Lucio Fulci film,
Oh wow.
Detroit 9000, Mighty Peking Man, Sonatine, and Switchblade Sisters.
Okay. All right. I know one of them, other than Chungking Express. You probably know all of them.
I only know
Okay.
Beyond and Mighty Peking Man.
It's just cool to see like this. This was the movie that sort of really, I don't know, and like in my area, all the people I knew started talking about this movie in the 90s. I wasn't watching it because I was like watching Braveheart at that point. But like, I'm sorry.
Was that a dig at me?
No, it was a genuine like.
I'm sorry.
That
watched
just
it
genuinely
too.
fell out of me, not realizing the history we have talking about Braveheart.
Okay.
I apologize.
It's okay.
It's like I think the first podcast where I wasn't intentionally busting your chops.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. Am I the only one that likes that movie?
I like it.
I
Okay,
like
good.
it for the entertaining value, not for the fact that they put it in a historical setting and it's not
I have
historical
too
at
many
all.
issues.
I have
I know.
He's a
and it's-
witch.
yeah.
He's a witch.
Yeah.
It's
Need to
it's-
burn.
It's no Twilight.
Amanda, I think you and I have
No, I
the same
hate-
issues with the movie.
I've
I'll
digressed
still
us
watch
so
it.
much here, Joe. I'm sorry.
I was just looking through
Getting
my
back
notes.
to Chungking Express, I have a
Remember
question.
that McDonald's sign? That was awesome.
I have a question for you.
A lot of sorry, Ben.
Don't worry. Don't be sorry. Go first,
There's
actually.
a lot of globalization that you can see throughout the film.
Yes.
and
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
I read a review from a critic I really like, Will Sloan, and he was pointing out like all of the cultural signifiers seem to be from somewhere else. Like
Yeah.
the blonde wig, the mamas and the papas, like there's constant Coca-Cola advertisement and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say, you know what this movie reminded me of? Is another pick that you had. The way that it was kind of filmed felt very much like Mulholland Drive.
I
And
can
it's,
see
I
that.
kind of got vibes when I was watching it. I was like, this has weird, like, I guess I forget the director's name. I know he did like
David
Twin Peaks.
Lynch.
David Lynch.
It felt very like, I don't know if it's because of the time period it was set in as well, and like maybe like under budget graphics in a sense, not under budget but low budget graphics. It had like this, as I said, it could just be a time the time period and the area it was shot in, but it had like that grainy kind of gritty feel. It made you feel a little like dirty. In a sense, I think it might have just also be the claustrophobia of the film as well, like everything feeling like dirtier than it is.
Oh, it's like a city
But,
neighborhood
yeah.
in Hong Kong.
Yeah,
It was
so
all it wasn't none of these were sets, right? They were all like,
Yeah, no, this
The
is
beginning
just-
made me feel, because like that bar scene, it was like so like, that bar was like really kind of like,
I want to go to that bar.
yeah, it had like the red tapestries like flowing everywhere, and I was just like, this feels like,
That's actually like one of the stunning moments of this movie when they meet, I think, for the first time at the outdoor market, and he helps carry his own basket, and he doesn't realize it's his laundry. That market in the background is just so full of color. It's gorgeous, and this leads me to my
Just the food
question.
he's eating. I was like, oh my god.
Oh yeah, that looked really good. Yeah,
just really
and it's just like rice and chicken, I think. But
Yeah.
still, I wanted it so bad.
first off, you like said fish and chips. I was like, where are you? I was like, why are you serving fish and chips?
So-
Globalization.
On the
That's it.
Criterion,
Exactly.
It was a British colony.
yeah,
Yeah, it
That's
was.
true.
Yeah.
That's true.
on the Criterion channel, I have the Chungking Express, and I have the alternate version.
Alternate version is the original.
Which is the color preference that you and I have.
Yes.
And the modern version is a little more green along the way.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Wong Kar-wai, much like George Lucas, has been on a project to edit all of his old movies and make them how he always wanted them. I'm usually in support of creators doing this, not when the original kind of goes away, but, you know, at least Criterion is making them both available now. But yeah, I don't know what his obsession with green has been. Like, In the Mood for Love, the new remaster is just so green, and it's just like, buddy, what?
I
what are you
remember
guess
doing?
in,
bright,
color?
bright
Yeah,
red.
like he upped the greens.
I don't like
Maybe
that.
that he like, I don't know. Usually, if you think about color therapy, green is supposed to feel like nature, fresh,
Well, that's-
renewal.
but
It's
in the
about
movie-
It
animals.
looks more
It just doesn't
fluorescent.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, In the Mood for Love is a very red movie.
It's a,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a red, hidden passion, standing alone in a phone booth, like red.
Green just doesn't. No. I just no.
Yeah, so I
No,
wouldn't
there.
quite
No.
recommend the new box set of most of his movies Criterion put out for that reason.
In the Mood for Love has like the best costume design.
I'm so excited to talk about it.
We can't. I'm sorry.
The dresses
We're
Maggie
getting
Chung
ahead,
wears.
ahead of ourselves here. I'm sorry. We should.
Spoilers.
Did you have a chance to watch the Korean import of the Grandmaster yet?
Not yet.
All right. Well,
I'm very excited to.
we should talk about that. Maybe I should make that a Ready to Cry movie, except we'd all have to watch it together because it's impossible to find.
That's my Ready to Cry movie. I own several copies.
What is it called?
The
So we're
Grandmaster,
watching
but
Anna
it's the
Karenina for
Korean
mine.
edit.
The Joe Wright film.
We're watching Keira Knightley's.
Joe
version,
Wright. Joe Wright's movie. I love that movie. That's gorgeous.
Mm-hmm. Because the set design is amazing. The costume design is amazing.
Yeah. No, Joe Wright is a
Performances are incredible.
bazillion% artist first. Yeah, incredible all his movies. I'm sorry, I digressed again.
No, you're
but
fine.
it's because of this movie that's inspiring
Yes.
me to talk about so many movies, which is the purpose of a good movie.
Yes.
Not a great movie, is that all it makes you is hungry for more. So we need the sequel. Did you know there was a sequel to In the Mood for Love? Sort of.
2046.
Yes.
Of course you
Yeah.
know. Why am I saying this to you?
Yeah, and Days
if
of
you
Being
don't-
Wild's in there too, right? It's like a trilogy.
It is a trilogy, yeah.
I've
No.
only seen In the Mood for Love. I want to watch through all of them. now.
2046 has its moments. It's kind of just overall upsetting, I think.
I really want to see Happy Together. I've heard that's just an emotionally brutal film, though.
And
Yep.
there you go. Your
Set.
time to cry.
Oh, that might be a good one.
My
And-
international film is sort of going to be like a lead into Time to Cry also, but it's also brilliant, so I don't know.
Lovely. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Where
Can't
can we
wait to
watch
try it.
that?
After the wedding,
No.
I think there's a disc copy here.
Mm,
I think you can figure it out.
thanks, Ben. That's helpful.
I'll give you my copy. I'll bring it in for you.
But yeah,
I will.
on the topic of globalization, it's kind of impossible to talk about 90s Hong Kong cinema without talking about the looming handover.
Yeah.
In 1997, they were going to be returned to China. And this was a cause of great anxiety for many filmmakers. And quite honestly, like, the film industry in Hong Kong never quite recovered. Like, Johnny To is still out there making bangers, but it's really not that
John Woo
great of a
came over
scene.
here and stopped making movies.
Yeah, no, a lot of Hong Kong directors ended up going to America. That's when you get John Woo coming in, and
But then
Choi
he goes
Park,
back to and gets pushed to make Red Cliff, which is like a bazillion
yeah,
percent
and
mainland
then
China.
almost all of them went back at some point and
Yeah.
started making propaganda films,
Ugh.
as is the way.
And now now it's like Hong Kong is I don't know the political social situation over there right now, but it's even more pulled back in now, isn't it?
Yes.
Than it was even in the 90s. Like recently in the last few
Yeah,
years.
no,
Yeah.
China has been trying very hard to sort of bring them in the fold, by hook or by crook.
Damn. I wonder what that does. I mean, obviously there's more important things to think about, but what it does to this like artistry that they have in cinema, because I love, I like Zhai Yimou films, but you can tell the difference between some artist that's free to do whatever they want versus someone who knows how the system works and makes movies within that with some cleverness.
No, like, I mean, it has been very difficult for Chinese filmmakers. The Central Film Office, I think that's what it's called. They've gotten much more strict, even just like over the past like 10 years or so.
Oh, wow.
Like, remember that movie The Great Wall with Matt
Yes.
Damon?
What a piece
Yeah.
of garbage.
Yeah, but like that's relatively recent, but like that was an attempt to be like, all right, let's bridge America and China. Like, it's an American-Chinese co-production. They were trying very hard to be like, all right, let's try internationalize this a bit. And then not too long after that, they sort of got much more standoffish. Obviously, American-Chinese relations have changed a lot, and there's a lot more saber rattling. So, like, they're much more focused on, like, okay, we need to make these, like, very party-approved, very,
So I guess when Top Gun Maverick was coming out, Tom Cruise, or Mav has like this Free Tibet thing on his coat, and because China, I guess, may had some financing with the movie or some sort of influence on it, they demanded that he take that off the coat, so they digitally remove it. And then somehow it ends up back on the coat by the time the movie's actually released.
Yep.
And sure enough, his next movie has had like 1/4 the amount of theatrical releases in China.
Yeah,
Suffering as a
they've been
result.
they've axed a lot of Marvel movies releasing there and everything, and though oddly enough, when theaters opened back up post pandemic, they were showing Woody Allen's newest movie.
Woody Allen is killing it in Europe. He's just kind of invisible over here now.
I don't quite know what a Chinese audience saw in a rainy day in New York, but
I got to see New York City. There's some Sammo Hung movie that came out called The Bodyguard a few years ago, and it's a bad movie. But I got to see this city in China that's right on the Russian border that I'd never seen before in my life, and it was fascinating just for that. So I think a rainy day in New York could have an opposite effect.
That's true.
Yeah.
I love Sammo.
Yeah, a gem.
Sammo it was Jackie Chan's big brother. They trained together in the Peking Opera Academy. And
That's cool.
He was in the Peking Opera.
yes, yeah. That's where most of the Kung Fu stars came from.
That's cool.
Well, the opera then is not like opera here. Opera's like...
I'm unaware of
Yeah.
Peking Opera.
Oh, okay.
No, I was playing a game on my phone and they based a character off the Peking Opera style, and I was very excited to see because Chinese opera, the way that the vocal inflections are very interesting.
Yes.
At first, a lot of people are very off-put. I would say people from the U.S. are very put off by the sound of the voice versus what they know of opera from like European opera, where it's more like the bellowing and like long notes, versus the Chinese opera way of dancing and also storytelling is very high pitched in everything, and I think it's utterly fascinating. And so I watched I follow a girl who shows you what it's like to get dressed for Peking operas, and also how she like trains like vocally and stuff. It's very interesting. So,
There's a fantastic Hong Kong group from the 80s called Peking Opera Blues,
mhm.
and it's set during, like, between revolutions in China. It's so fantastic. Yeah, the woman in the blonde wig is one of the leads in it, and, next level stuff. Highly recommend it. It's a little hard to find, but if you go digging around online, you can find it.
And I apologize.
What's it called again?
Peking Opera Blues, and there's a lot of great Peking opera stuff in it, so...
Amanda's gonna find it.
That's from my boy Troy Hark, who is just an absolute hellraiser at first, and now he makes Taking Tiger Mountain.
I apologize for that almost moment of mansplaining, Amanda.
Oh, what? Oh, yeah, trying to. I'm aware of the dance and opera culture. Told me.
And I was gonna be like, well, Amanda, did you know that? Yeah.
It's not on my way.
How would you all feel if someone asked you if you liked pineapple in 4 different languages all in a row?
I
Yeah,
would
I'd be
probably
very
shove him. Like, he has so much more self-control.
I was like, guy, let it go. And he just kept going. I was like,
Well,
Shut
he
your
was
shot,
like, I
get
guess she
out of
doesn't
there.
speak Cantonese.
Abort.
Time
Abort.
to try every language I know.
Her cigarette's so close to his face too. Like he's so lucky.
Yeah.
he's like, I'm done. She's like, get away from me. And I'm just like, abort. I would be like, I'm like,
Don't-
put the earpiece in.
Yeah.
Put the earpiece in. I'm like, I'd be the bartender giving him the drink with the napkin and saying, shoot.
Go away.
And like, not worth it.
I still love him though because he is like that Lord Byron loving sap.
And he's so clueless.
And I know, and I love that he washes her Manolos for her.
It's so cute.
It really is.
It's like such a pretty woman should have clean shoes.
Man.
So
Simp. 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 She was not asleep that entire time either. He left and she was like, and I was like, you faked it. I'm like, you're nasty. Then again,
It's fantastic.
random guy who just spoke to you in 4 languages. It's like, what was the pickup line? I wanted to know where that was gonna go.
Cigarette smoking never looks better than it does in Wong Kar-wai films.
Oh, it's insane. In the Mood for Love has so
Yeah.
many amazing smoking scenes.
Yeah.
he's just so pretty, and they're just both gorgeous people too, and it's just,
So, for anyone out there who hasn't seen this movie, it's available. I think we even have a copy of it, but I wouldn't recommend it because it's an old DVD and it probably doesn't look right. But just find a way to watch it.
Before we fully
I'm not
can I throw in
exiting.
one
I just
more
need
thing?
that said.
Yes.
I absolutely love the guy who ran the stand.
He's so cool.
her cousin.
I just want to say that he was really funny because in the beginning to the one guy, he's like, "Oh, you should forget about her and date the girl here, my daughter or something. I don't even know who she
He's
is."
trying to pawn her off.
Well,
Yeah.
first off, he pawns her off, and she's like, "Whatever." And he's like, "Ha, you missed. She's going out with a Richard." And I was like, "Oh, Richard." To which the second cop comes in, and he kind of pulls the same stunt. And he's like, "You should date the weird stalker chick that I just hired." My cousins are they're cousins,
Yeah.
right? And then at the end, when she leaves, he's like, "Oh, you should just give up on her." And I'm like,
Date May.
"You have been pawning off your family members to 2 cops now." And I was like, "And you're just telling him to get over
Okay.
it?"
I don't know if you've ever fostered a relationship with guys who run food carts, but they
Not
love to
close.
try to set you up with their family.
They do, but he was
Yeah.
so like flaky on it though, because at first he's like, "Oh, you're single, get with her," and then he like, starts to build this relationship, and this minute she leaves, he's like already back on the thing. He's like, it wasn't worth it," and I was like, "What are you talking about? You told him to go for it. What is your problem?" I'm like, "You're the worst."
There was this line that was said, and I think it was also when they were walking through the market together, and he asks her something about like, "Are you going to school?" And when she's like, "No, I'm not thinking about it. I just want to live a happy life." And it was like, oh, could you imagine? I was too young in the 90s, but that you could just live that way, and it was actually, you could do it, whereas I feel like now, if we don't have 3 jobs, we're going to die.
Yeah.
if we don't live in the right part of the country, we're probably going to get droughted out or drowned or it's just this. I'm probably just rose-colored glassesing it, but like the mid '90s seemed like, in some ways, easier. Or maybe I think it's just what happens when you get old. You look back and
You
you
ever
say,
watch
It's on
Clerks
Daily
and you're
Motion.
like, how do these guys live on their
yeah.
own?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
It's on Daily Motion.
okay.
yeah, I think maybe I'm just becoming old man yells at cloud. And it's happening in real time, and now I'm talking about it as it's happening.
It's the UFOs. It's the aliens, Ben.
Fall out of camera.
But yeah, that old man.
He's a G.
He's setting people up, and as soon as it doesn't work out, he's like, whatever. It wasn't good for you. Stop recommending people. First off, she was a stalker.
Yeah.
She wasn't
I
a
had
stalker.
an issue in the beginning because at first I'm like, she's got
She had his keys.
She's a little spastic in the
stole
beginning.
them.
Yeah.
She's
To
first
be
off,
fair, she offered, to give him back the letter that had the keys. He didn't want it. So in my opinion, he was giving her the
I
keys.
love her.
He said to keep
Yeah,
it, not to take
she's
the
a
keys
stalker.
out of it and get into my house. He's a cop. First off, he's a cop. Why would you break into a cop's
She
home
didn't
without
break
telling
into it.
him?
She had the keys. It's not breaking in
It
if you have the
wasn't
keys.
for her. Those were keys from his ex, giving it back to him, and then she was like, "Oh, if my boss is gonna open it, then I might as well just take the keys and fill his house with fish."
She
Okay.
had the
His ex was
No.
a really terrible person.
And then he gives her a leg massage, and I'm like, "No,
I
no,
love
no."
when she's with the motorcycle
Oh,
guy
God,
at the
yeah.
end.
That was
And
so mean.
She
I
just
didn't
leaves. It's like,
recognize
yeah,
it for a moment.
he can pay for it.
Is it more
Rude.
I know, she was the worst.
is it more unacceptable than Mr. Vincent Gambini dating Marissa Tomei when there's like 25 years between them?
She's so hung
How
up
was she?
on My Cousin Vinny.
Just a question. I think she was 18
When she did my cousin.
and he was
Vinny.
46.
Oof.
She's
She made
technically an
choices.
adult.
She made choices.
She's
She
legal.
Made choices.
Fair point.
And the age difference.
You're an
wasn't
adult.
She's
so-
at a mature mental level to make her own decisions, Ben.
That's true.
And in the movie, you can't tell that there's that much of a difference between them. So why even continue to bring it up? Bring it up.
Yes.
It's a time period piece.
Terrible news. The bar has closed down. Shut down in
Oh,
2009. We'll never get to go to the Bottoms Up Club.
We'll make her own.
Though it was also in a James Bond movie,
Oh, really? Which
Man with the
one?
Golden Gun.
Classic.
I'm gonna watch it now just to find it. Killer pick, Joe.
Yeah.
Thank
This
you.
was
Good job.
Very interesting. Okay.
All right. Then see ya on the flip side. Bye.